welcome. Hello, hello, hello. This is Mrs. M, and thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't, make sure you push the button below to subscribe to my channel. That way you receive the latest and juicy cleaning business industry news. So, I have spoken so much about systems, how important systems are, how you cannot have a six-figure cleaning business without systems, how you're not going to be able to scale up to six figures or beyond without systems in place. So I'm going to kind of break down what I actually mean by systems, give you an example of what type of system you need to implement, and how simple it is and effective it is to have systems. The reason why I know that systems are so important because when I first got started in the cleaning industry, I did not have my systems in place. So I was running everywhere. I did not have a system in place for hiring, which meant if I hired someone, sometimes I would use one process, another time I would use a totally different process. So it was not the same. So if I were to have gotten sick and someone had to hire for me, they wouldn't know what system to use. Should you go through Indeed, Craigslist? Should I put an application on my website? I would do all of those. So I realized that I need to have a system in place so someone else could duplicate what I was doing. They could actually duplicate it and do 2 times the business I was doing when it came to hiring. So what I started to do was the very first step in doing systems was I would write out what my current process was. What was I doing? How many people did it take to do the process? So if it was just me, I would take a piece of paper, write down, it was me doing this particular process. So let's go with hiring. So I would write down that I was hiring employees for the cleaning business. I would then realize that I didn't have a description, a job description. So I had to make sure first that I knew what position I was hiring for. I had to have my job description. So I needed to have a system in place to have my job descriptions done before I needed them. So the first thing I needed to do was do an org chart, an organizational chart on what type of, I guess you would say, sections within the business I wanted. Did I want an operations section, a human resource, sales? Did I want customer service? Once I decided I wanted all those sections, because I always say you want to work backwards. You want to start where you want to end up. So if you want to end up with a 12-section operations within your cleaning system, as far as your cleaning business, then you need to break down each one of those systems. So, or sections. So I started with customer service, and then I wanted to have a office manager. I wanted to have a sales manager, a sales assistant, an office assistant, and I broke all of those down on my org chart. Once I broke each one of those down, then I started to fill in what was the process to go from the start all the way through when it came to building my system. So let's stick with hiring. The first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure that I had a way to vet, to actually go through and select the best person. So what was my system? I wrote that down. The next thing I wanted to know was what was my system for deciding on how I was going to pay them as far as what amount of money they were going to make. I needed to have a system in place so it was consistent. I was able to write that down. Then I wrote down the actual steps for hiring. How would I find the individual? How would I then vet them for an interview? Where would I interview? How long would the interview be? What was the process of interviewing? All that needed to be written down. So once I wrote that down, I had where I would hire them, where I'd actually find and solicit to let individuals know I was hiring. So I started using the website to put applications on. Then once I was able to do that, I started using Indeed.com, which was really great because I could put free ads up and I could vet them really, really well. And then I also used Craigslist. Now, Craigslist since has started to charge a little bit more to charge for employment. But at one time it was free. In different states, it is actually still free. So Indeed, you're able to do it. You're able to put in what exactly you're looking for, what's the requirement, how much you're looking to pay. You put down a contact information for you. So all this was written down. Now I have a way to actually attract the employees that I'm looking for. Then I had to have a screening process to make sure it's really a process of elimination. I'm looking at who I'm going to eliminate. So I would put different things in place to know who I was looking for. So if I was looking for a customer service position, I wanted someone that had at least 1 year in customer service in cleaning, in the cleaning industry, which is really important because when you're getting in specific questions, you would want them to be able to answer specific questions. So I wanted someone who had cleaning industry information when it came to experience. If they had a background in that, at least a year, they needed to speak and read English. I wanted someone that was bilingual, and that was the requirement with a couple other things I put in there. Now I have what my requirements were. I needed to find a way to vet them to eliminate who fit that and who didn't. Well, Indeed is really good at doing that. You can put in specific filters to filter through the people that do not fit what you're looking for. So when you end up with the individual applicants, those are the ones that have gone through your filters, so you know they are a good fit based on what you put for your filters. Now I need a process to interview. Where am I going to interview them? That needs to be put in place. The next thing is, what questions am I going to ask? And you have to be careful. Certain questions you cannot ask legally, so you need to check on that to see what questions you can ask during an interview and which ones you can't. The most important thing is I need to write, what was my end game? What was I trying to accomplish? Was I just trying to get a warm body? Or did I want someone that I thought was going to be there long term? Or was I looking for a certain amount to pay them? All of that is important when it comes to your process. Once I wrote down what my interview process was from the beginning to the end, how many times I would have to interview them, if it was a phone interview or not, I had a system in place and processes in place for my interviewing, for my hiring from the very beginning. Now this is all the way through. So now we've interviewed, I've hired them. I then need to have a system for onboarding, how to bring them onto the company. So you may have an employee handbook that you give them. You may have a checklist, a training manual. That is what you need to figure out. Now, from the onboarding process, you need to have a certain amount of days that you onboard them. Is it a week of recruitment where they actually sit in and look at videos on to indoctrinate them into your company? This is how specific and detailed you need to be when it comes to writing your systems and making up your systems. Now, when you look at systems and putting them in place, it's pretty much your whole business. It really is. Because the goal is, if something happened to you tomorrow, if you went on vacation, we're going to go with something fun. You've gone on vacation, not like you passed out and boom, you're gone. Let's not go negative. Let's stay in the positive. So let's say you wanted to go on this long vacation for 4 weeks. They say a business is in phase 4. That's the top. Phase 1 is when you can only be gone for an hour. Phase 4 is when you can be gone for 4 weeks. So if you're only able to be gone for an hour and then your business falls apart, the goal is to get to phase 4, or most people's goal is to get to phase 4. Hopefully that's yours as well. So phase 4, you can be gone for at least 4 weeks or more, and nothing in the business changes. Your revenue doesn't change. Nothing changes. That's phase 4, and that's a great place to be. And as a 6-figure business rock star, 6-figure business boss, that's the goal. To get to the point where you do not have to be in there minding the business every single day. And the only way you're going to get there is when you hear me say over and over again, you've got to have your systems in place. You have to have your systems in place. So really important. So I went through a little bit, a small amount. You want to do the same thing for your revenues. Systematize your revenues point by point. How am I getting my customers? Specifically, how am I getting them? How many customers am I getting to even know if it's working? What's the cost for me to get each customer? That's how specific you need to be in each part of your business. Figure out how many, do your org chart to look and see how many different sections you want. You may only want 3, but you want to figure out a real important, how are you going to bring your new employees on board and train them? Is it going to be where you're working with them side by side? Is it going to be they're looking at videos? Are you going to have a trainer that trains them? How do you get your trainer trained? All of that needs to be written down in what we used to call, and still do, some places do, standard operating procedures. Those are the things you do that are just like a no-brainer. Everything's in the book. You don't have to think about it. You can sit anyone down and train them via that book. That's what you want to have in place in every part of your business. Now, once you get this in place and you have your foundation in place, guess what? You are well on your way to building a 6-figure cleaning business from scratch. And no matter what area of the process you've already gotten your EIN, your DUNS, and you've gotten your registration, you haven't hired your first employee. This is the time to put the systems in place because you have a little bit more time probably than you have money. Then there's times you have more money than you do time. Both of those can be really great places to be in. So if you would love to know more about how to systematize your business to scale to 6 figures from scratch, or wherever you are in that process of scaling the business to 6 figures, guess what? I have a masterclass that goes step by step on the exact method I use to build not just one, but several 6-figure cleaning businesses in different states. That's what I wanted to make sure I could do. I wanted to make sure I could go to several states and build a 6-figure cleaning business, which I've been fortunate enough to do. So if you want to know the exact method I used and how to build those systems, human resource, invoicing, all of those, then make sure you click below for the link to join me on my live 6-figure cleaning business masterclass from scratch. I have limited space because we do a question and answer. I love for it to be interactive. I am an energy person. I love to feel your energy. I want your questions. Make sure you bring pen and paper with you so you can write down the questions that you may have to ask. You can ask them. And also, my goal is for you to be able to take at least one actionable item from this masterclass and implement it in your business immediately. That is the goal of the masterclass. Not for you to have to wait a while, wait a couple of months. No, right away. So if this sounds like a good fit for you, which I know it would be, then make sure you register for my 6-figure masterclass from scratch. We have limited slots because we really do a small, little close-knit group where that way we can interact. We don't have a lot of people interacting, and we do them quite, I wouldn't say quite often. It depends on, we do sometimes try to make sure that we fit them in often because we have a lot of people that we are on a mission to help you get your business to 6 figures. That is the purpose of this channel. So if that sounds interesting, please make sure you register below. And until then, stay safe and take care. Until next time. Bye-bye.